गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. We are in Amrit Anubhav. We are looking at verse number 24. And here we are looking at how the truth, the reality is other than existence and non-existence. That is what Jnaneshwar Maharaj is trying to put it across to us, because we are stupid fools who only know how to function through the mind, and we are much more than the mind. And therefore, when we are told you are other than the mind, we think with the mind about that which is beyond the mind. And how will we access that? It is not possible. Somewhere, yes, initially, yes, but when it comes to that point where the mind needs to be dropped, we are unable to drop the objectification, and that needs to be towards that. Jnaneshwar Maharaj is guiding us. He says in the 25th OV, he raises a question himself. तैसे असणे आणी नसणे हे नाही जया होणे आता मिथ्या ऐसे येणे बोले गमे. Similarly, the pure knowledge can be called as neither existent nor non-existent, neither knowledge nor ignorance, if one objects to the above statement. In that case, the pure knowledge is an illusion or nothingness, shunya. So what is, you say that pure knowledge is not knowledge. So pure knowledge is not knowledge. Knowledge is always about something or someone. So is pure knowledge knowing something? Knowledge is always about something or someone. Knowledge is always with reference to something. When we think by thoughts, that is how we perceive knowledge, no? We get knowledge, or we are knowledgeable of something, But when the reality is one without a second, there is nothing else other than the reality. How will reality know something? And that you are. You say that pure knowledge is not knowledge, it is not opposed to ignorance, it cannot be said to exist or not exist. Are you not talking about something that is an illusion? Is it not mithya prasanga, like snake on the rope or the blueness of the sky? If it is not absolute existence, if it is not absolute existence and also not absolute non-existence, it must be only an appearance. It must be only an appearance. The reality cannot be an appearance. World can be an appearance. The wave can be an appearance. The ocean can be an appearance. Water cannot be an appearance. It is the Satvastu. It is that which is always. It cannot be absence. Water cannot be absence. But what happens when the mind is trying to come to a conclusion with respect to this, with respect to its own essence, and it is unable to think as to what it is, because no words can illuminate, no words can give it that experience. And because the whole search is going on in the mind, therefore that mind comes to a point of zero, niruddha. Remember 5 types of mind: kshipta, vikshipta, moodha, kshipta, vikshipta, ekagra, and niruddha. Niruddha is zero mind. So when it comes to zero mind, he says, I don't think there is anything like that. It must be zero. It is nothingness. Now, we must not come to this conclusion. The teacher says, Jnaneshwar Maharaj says, he only put the question to clarify. He is only answering. If this is the doubt, the reply in the next OV is, तरी काही नाही सर्वथा ऐसी जरी व्यवस्था तरी नाही हे प्रथा कवनासी पा. To this objection, the answer is as to who is making the enquiry about the nothingness. See how quickly we can come back to the Sat Vastu, the ever existing principle, which is I, not as a thought, which is I without a thought. It is not at all a total absence like what you say. If you conclude that pure knowledge is not existing at all, then find out who is asking this question about the non-existence of pure existence, consciousness. Who is saying that there is nothingness? There is someone, no, who made the statement, I think it is an appearance, I think it is non-existence, I think it is nothing, nothingness, I think it is zero, shunya. Who is saying this? That person is still there, who is observing the shunya. Many people come across this experience of void, this void or shunya on the seat of meditation comes only because our search for the truth is through our mind. We have not taken it as a subjective see, and it will come. This absence will come. You cannot avoid it. Every day when you go to sleep, absence comes, no. Deep sleep is nothing but absence. On the seat of meditation also, if you do Vaikhari Madhyama Pashyanti, Pashyanti is absence. But you have to go beyond Para and beyond Sahaja. So absence will come. And absence is opposite of presence. See? So before, for the seeker, the presence was the world. Then he became aware that he is. Then he became aware of himself as the thought I. And when that thought I also goes away for some time, then he becomes aware of the absence. He is aware of something because he is looking for something. He is looking for an experience. And when there is nothing to experience, he calls it is void, it is shunya. And this we have to recognize, that something and nothing are both aspects of the mind, And the one who knows that the appearance of the thought and the disappearance of the thought, nothingness and somethingness, are the two spectrums of the mind, are the two sides of the same coin called the mind. And the one who is knowing this, in whose presence these two are coming and going, is the reality. And if you think about that one, again you are coming into thoughts. Don't think. Think of such thoughts. Well, I don't want to say think of such thoughts because if you think of such thoughts, again you are in thoughts. In spite of thinking thoughts of contemplation, we have to continue, we have to recognize, we have to discover. In other words, we have to be the one in whose presence the mind is contemplating or not contemplating. The mind is silent or it is thinking. Who is the knower of these three planes of consciousness? Your conclusion that Shuddha Jnanam never existed is a misunderstanding. Without the presence of pure knowledge, neither the experience of presence of waking and dream states nor the absence of experience of the deep sleep state can be known or established. What I just said. Because there is a river bed, therefore there is a river flowing. And in the summer, when the water dries up, there are no rains, we say there is no river. But where there is no river? Oh, in the river bed there is no river. We don't use those type of words, we just say there is no river. But what are we looking at? We are looking at the river bed. Exactly the same way. River bed was there whether there is river or no river. Presence of river, the river bed is there. Absence of water, river bed is still there. Similarly, this conscious principle, that is our true nature, is always, without a break, continuous, constant, common denominator, forever and ever and ever and ever. It can never go out of existence because it is existence. On it, the river of thoughts come, then they dry away in meditation. Because the heat of meditation, all the thoughts dry away. Then what is there? Absence of thoughts is there. You want to take it at a meditative, on the seat of meditation, this might happen. But see, it is happening in your daily life also. River of thoughts, where is this river of thoughts? In the waking and in the dream, there are thoughts. In the deep sleep, there are no thoughts. And this is going on every day. Then who are you? Are you the one who is coming and going? Oh, but the waker came and went, the dreamer came and went, the sleeper came and went. But who knows that these three came and went? That is the truth. That is the common denominator. That is the continuous principle. Come to be that. Not become. Becoming will lead you to, again, shunting. Be that. The thought continues. Shunya siddhanta bodha kona satta hoya siddha nasataha apavada vastu sizo. In whose presence the knowledge or nothingness has been established. Without this presence, the absence cannot be established. Exactly what I was saying before. Maybe I preempted it. because the thought is unfolding in that manner, in whose presence the knowledge of nothingness has been established. Who is validating that there is nothing? Who is validating that that I had a good sleep last night? Because if you say, "Oh, I am," who are you? I am the waking. I am awake right now. Oh, but the waker was not present in the sleep. Waker cannot be present in the dream or in the sleep. Then who is there in the dream? Is the dreamer. Who is there in the sleep? Sleeper. If you cannot go back, the waker cannot go into the dream experience. He also cannot go. He cannot go into the sleep experience. He has to vanish. Only then sleep begins. The waker has to vanish, dissolve. Only then the dreamer begins. Then who is making the statement that I had a good sleep last night? It must be someone other than the sleep and other than the waker, and the dreamer also, for that matter. So that one is speaking through this equipment right now. But are we able to catch that? We think we are the waker who is speaking. No. For this statement that I had a good sleep last night, it cannot be the waker who is making this statement. It cannot be. It has to be necessarily someone other than the waker and the dreamer and the sleeper. So, but while making this statement, we are unable to catch ourselves to be that other one, the transcendental one. It happens so quickly. Just like between two thoughts, Nirvikalpa Samadhi is there. But you are not able to catch it because it's happening so many times and it's happening so quickly that you are unable to catch yourself between the two thoughts. But while you are speaking, while you are thinking, there is always a gap between two thoughts. Always. You cannot have a continuous thought. Your confusion that knowledge is nothingness is because you are thinking of existence which is opposed to non-existence. Because our thinking is still steeped in duality. And duality always accepts the opposites. Always accepts the opposites. And therefore, existence, non-existence. We are still stuck in that. We are unable to take the position that we are that who is giving validity to existence and non-existence. This can only happen if we are subjective, otherwise no. Your confusion is that knowledge is nothingness is because you are thinking of existence which is opposed to non-existence. In whose presence is this absence established? In whose presence is the nothingness established? Who is that who is giving validity to this nothingness? You are unnecessarily placing a blemish on the Sadvastu. So this Sadvastu, that the one who you essentially are, is not absence, is not nothing. You are there. It is a positive. And it is that positive which is beyond positive and negative. It is that existence which is beyond the relative existence and absence, non-existence. When it is said that pure knowledge is not contradictory to absence or non-existence, when it is said that pure knowledge is not contradictory to absence of non or non existence, it should not be misconstrued as playing with words. The only way to explain the truth is through contradictions. So, this truth is water for or against appearance of wave and absence of wave? Is the sun for or against the day and night? Is the sadvastu, your true nature, is it for or against waking, dream and sleep? Waking and dream being existence and deep sleep being non-existence. Are you against it? So the one who says that he knows that waking, dream and deep sleep came and went from childhood till today, he is pervading the waking experience, dream experience and deep sleep experience. So there is a continuous presence which does not become crystallized. This is what is told in the Mundaka Upanishad. Dau Suparna Sakha Sujaya. The two birds are sitting on the tree. One is, so it's as if one is looking out into the world and taking that as real, so it wants to eat the fruits of the world, and the other one is happy with itself. It is not. It is the agyat. So similarly, within us, there are the two selves, just like in one woman or in one man, there is the mother self, there is the daughter self, there is the wife self, there is the friend self. So many selves you are carrying within yourself. Just like within you, there is the waking self, there is the dream self, there is the sleep self, sleep I, waking I, dreamer I. Similarly, but you know that you are one. Similarly, in this consciousness, pure consciousness, one is the constant and the other is that which is extroverted, that which is accepting the names and forms as reality. The one who takes the names and forms as reality is called the waker or the dreamer. And for some time, when he gets tired of taking the load and processing the data of names and forms in waking and dream, he stops interacting with the names and forms. And what is that state called where he stops? It is called sleep. Who is knowing all these three? I. So is that I the waker? No, it has to be separate, other than these three. It is other than these three. And this you can catch right now as we are listening and talking. For this, intense Shravanam is required. Intense faith is required. Then grace will flow. Faith in the words of teachers, faith in your own ability to understand correctly, without ambiguity. Faith in the scriptures, the words that are coming across. Until unless we don't have this deep faith, we always take it with a pinch of salt, everything that we hear. normal, and that habit is there in the world. We want to take the mickey out of anyone, we don't trust someone, we don't trust, and that continues. We don't trust our mind, therefore it continues. With the scriptures also, we don't trust. Yeah, that is good, I understand, but my child wants this, my child wants that, my wife wants this, my parents want that. You are listening to the Amrut Anubhav. Where have the children come in between? Where has the wife come in between? Where has the parents come in between? This is showing lack of intensity, lack of relaxed intensity has to be there. That means lack of focus. We know that this is the way to go, but we are not able to completely surrender to this path. Because the world is still demanding and we are succumbing to that world. If we are. Because that is the reason it is not clicking. Now, don't try to fix the world outside. You fix your mind. We don't have to fix the waking dream and deep sleep. No. You have to catch it in your mind that you are the one who is truly awake even to the coming and going of the waking dream and deep sleep. You have to just catch it. You don't have to remain waking in the waking, waking in the dream, and waking in the sleep. How will you do it? You'll get frustrated. It will not. It has to happen. So when it is said that pure knowledge, pure consciousness is not contradictory to absence or non-existence, it should not be, Swamiji says, it should not be misconstrued as playing with words. No. Just like you are not contradictory to waking, dream or deep sleep. You accept these three states, you don't reject these three states, but you do not retain these three states also. From pure consciousness point of view, you are allowing them, the phenomena of these three, to come and go. In fact, meditation also, four of them, to come and go, come and go, come and go. You are not fighting with it, you are not controlling it, you are not sad because of it. It's happening. And that is what is called that it is not, you are not that one must not misunderstand what is being told, that pure consciousness is not in contradiction with absence or presence. For pure consciousness or pure knowledge or absolute knowledge, existence and non-existence, Sat and Asat, both are relative. In its presence, both of them are going on. One moment. So it is not corrupted by the presence of existence and non-existence. Water is not corrupted by presence of waves, nor is it sad because of absence of waves. Water is water. Similarly, you are pure knowledge, pure consciousness always. But because of over investment in the waking, you are having all this unwanted experiences. Absolute presence cannot be called presence. One can be called one only if there is a reference of two. From absolute point of view, there is nothing to compare against. There is no reference because it is everywhere. Water is everywhere. It has got no reference that, yeah, I am more pervasive than the ocean. From water's point of view, there is no ocean. From water's point of view, there is no wave. From water's point of view, there is no presence of ocean and wave and absence of ocean and wave. From sun's point of view, there is no presence of light and absence of light. From sun's point of view, there is no presence or absence of sunrise and sunset. So how will the sun say that I am beyond these two? So when you say that, when the scripture is telling us you are that absolute one who is beyond waking dream and deep sleep, for whom is the waking dream and deep sleep? Not for the absolute. It is for the individual. Who is the individual who is identified with the body? For him is the waking dream and deep sleep. Then who is saying that I am beyond the waking dream and deep sleep? He is the witness. Who is witness? Who is not identified with the waking dream and deep sleep. Meaning he is not identified with the body. But this identified with the body or not identified with the body being the witness, it is still a construct of the mind alone. You are other than this. When you become the witness, then you go into meditation, that's all. Has our vision transformed that we see everywhere only the self? Nothing other than the self? How will we know that everything is the self? A deep love, deep acceptance. Just like as long as the toilet is inside our bowels, it is I. When it becomes separated from us, oh, it stinks, it's bad, it's dirty. Flush quickly. As long as the vomit is inside, it is I. The moment it becomes separated from us, yuck, I want to throw it away. Same way, the entire, everything is the self. The moment we imagine that there is otherness, there is a difference between me and you, there is a sense of otherness, the relativity begins. Relativity begins. One can be called one only if there is a reference of two. When one is without a second, it cannot be called one also. So a man is called husband with reference to the woman. But if there is no woman, there is no wife, then will the man keep going calling himself husband? Was the husband real in the first place? No, that husband was with reference to someone. So just as after divorce, no person is born as a husband or wife. These are, no person is born with a reflection. No, only when you come in front of the mirror, then you see the reflection. That reflection is not real. The moment you move away from the mirror, reflection also vanishes. Similarly, you came across someone and you stood in front of them. This is my going to be my wife. Immediately, husband is born. Wife dies. Husband also dies. Do you write late husband? Who are you? I am the late husband of my late wife. Why? Along with the wife, husband also went, no? Do you say, I am the divorced husband of my divorced wife? Do you say that to yourself? But that's exactly how we are behaving in our daily life. That's exactly how we are behaving. So when we are in this contemplation that there is only one, then there is nothing for the one to refer to against. It is all that there is. Then will that one without a second, will it be called absolute? Will it be called pure consciousness? Will it be called absolute consciousness? Will it be called truth, reality? These are words only for the individual who is seeking. The truth is independent. It cannot be. Yato vacho nivartante. Taittiriya Upanishad says, Yato vacho nivartante. No words can illuminate the truth. Aprapya manasa saha. No mind can comprehend the truth. No words can illumine the truth. No mind can comprehend the truth. Yet that is the tool we have. And while we are using this tool, be subjective. It can only be termed as infinite, ananta, which is not a summation of finitudes, but which includes all the finitudes, all the plurality, and yet never becomes plural. So what is water? Which includes all the finite waves and oceans. Yet the water is much more than finite waves and oceans put together. You can put all the waves, all the oceans, all the wells, all the ponds, all the rivers, all the lakes, all the lagoons, all the drops of water coming down from the sky, all the ice in Arctic, Antarctic, on the mountains in Himalayas, Europe, everywhere. You put it all together, it cannot be equal to the waters. Water is far, far more expansive than that. Just like you cannot take all the space of the houses, space of the objects, space of the countries to put together and say it is the earth space. No, earth space is much more than that. And total space is much more than the solar space, solar system space. And the space is much more than the space that the galaxy is occupying. Exactly the same way. This self, just like the waves are finite, our thoughts are also finite. What is finite? Which comes and goes, which appears momentarily, temporarily. So all the thoughts put together can never be equal to self. So here Swamiji says, it can be termed only as infinite, which is not a summation of finitude. Infinite number of finite is not equal to infinite. Infinite number of finite waves is not equal to total or infinite waters. Not possible. But which includes all the finitude. So, what is water? Water is that which accepts all the waves, rejects no wave, retains no wave. How is it doing? Just by being. It is not saying, I accept this wave also, I accept that wave also, I accept that wave also. It doesn't say that. It's a principle that is being told. It accepts all the waves, rejects none, and retains none. So, where is this acceptance, rejection, and non rejection and non retention going on? It's a phenomena. Because we are putting these words, we are superimposing these words on that one. Because we want to understand. And when we say it is what was that? Accepting everything, rejecting nothing, and retaining nothing, you cannot come to this conclusion what it is. You can, in one way, you are accepting the 3-4 states: waking, dream, deep sleep, meditation, coming. You are supporting the going away of waking, dream, deep sleep, and meditation. But where is our problem? We retain in our memory waking, dream, deep sleep. We don't retain dream, but deep sleep we retain because we experience bliss in deep sleep. And we retain waking because we are thinking that it is the same waking from yesterday and it will be the same waking tomorrow, with the same body, with the same wife, with the same children, with the same house. So we are retaining it. And who are you? In whose presence all this is going on? But which includes all the finitudes, all the plurality, and yet has never become plural. For this, again I'll repeat, read the verses 4 and 5 of the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9. Maya tatamidam. Reality is that which supports all plurality but is not affected by the plurality. Reality is that which doesn't become the plurality. Because the reality remains as reality. Water is not becoming waves. Water is remaining water only. In spite of the wave, the water remains water. In every plane of consciousness, the other two are absent, but in and through the relative presence or absence is that which is called absolute presence or absolute absence. This is called Mahashunya or absolute existence. So that which is ever present. And why it is called Mahashunya? Because it can never be known. How it cannot be known? It can never be known by the mind, by the individual. That's why it is called Mahashunya. That is why it is called absolute absence. See, these are just words. Don't get too lost, but we have the words only to communicate with. Therefore, it is not correct to say that Paramatma Tattva in the form of pure undifferentiated knowledge is non existing. To think like this is something like the following examples. If you think because yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha, the words cannot illuminate the truth, mind cannot comprehend the truth, there is contradiction, I can't come to a correct conclusion. How do I do it? Because all conclusions are only in the mind. And then you come to know, say that I think it is not there, there is nothing like that. So that we don't come to this wrong conclusion that there is nothing like that, some three examples are given to expose the untenability of the above misunderstanding that pure knowledge is nothingness. He says, Malhavita dive, Malhavita zari malave, Tari deep nahi he panave, Konasi pa. On putting off the light, if one says that the person who did so also disappeared, then who has known the absence of light and the person? How simple example. In the presence of in the light, we are able to see ourselves. When we put the light off, we are not able to see ourselves. Does it mean that we have become absent? Have we vanished? No. On putting off the light in a room, if one feels that the person who put off the light has also disappeared, then who knows the absence of light? Do you disappear because you put the light off? With the going away of the light, have you gone away? No. He was the one because of whom the presence of light was established, and he is the one because of whom the absence of light is also established. You are the one because of whom the waking and dream is established, and you are the one because of whom the deep sleep, which is equal to absence of waking and dream, is also established. That is our true identity. In the same way, that presence which is present in the presence of the waker in the waking state, or of the dreamer in the dream state, and which is also present in the absence of both in the deep sleep state, but which is never a waker, a dreamer, or a deep sleeper, that is the reality. It is totally independent of the three principles of waker, dreamer, deep sleeper, etc., and meditator. It is the one which is present through all the presences and absences. That is why pure knowledge can be called neither knowledge nor ignorance. See, even at this moment, you, in your presence, the absolute presence, you are hearing the words, and when I stop speaking, there is absence of words. So you are in your presence, the absence is also there. So in your presence, the presence of the words and the absence of words, both is there. Meaning presence of thoughts and absence of thoughts in your mind. Because there is absence of thoughts, you have not become absent. You have not become absent. Catch this principle. It will help and take you beyond meditation then. Then Sahaja Avastha will come. Happen, not come, it will happen. And therefore, this pure knowledge can neither be called knowledge nor ignorance. It supports both, yet it is transcendental to both. Knowledge and ignorance are opposites of each other, they coexist. Knowledge is thoughts, absence is absence of thoughts. Both coexist with each other. That is the game of the mind. The one who knows is other than it, is transcendental to it, is not affected by it. And that one is all that there is. If you just take that other one, that one, to be independent of the presence and the absence of thoughts, then it will be meditation. You have to understand the true nature of that one. What is that one? Purnamada Purnamidam Ishavasyamadagam Sarvam Yatkinchit Jagatyam Jagat. If you take that, if you understand that one to have this nature, to be of this nature, which is you, you are supporting all the thoughts, you are supporting all the absence of all the thoughts, past, present, future. Then you are not obsessed with coming and going of anything or anyone or any thought, any experience. You are not obsessed with coming and going of waker, dreamer, or sleeper, which with their corresponding waking world, dream world, and absence of the two. That you are. Second example, कि निद्रेचे नि आलेपणे निद्रेले निदेले ते जाय प्राणे तरी नीद भली हे कोणे कोणासी पा. If the entry in deep sleep state means denying presence, who has known the peaceful sleep? See how automatically all that I was saying before, same example Jnaneshwar Maharaj is taking here. Or it is a natural consequence of thought if you are in tune with the line of thinking. It's not that he is thinking what I am thinking. No, I am thinking, I am preempting his thoughts because that is the natural consequence of thoughts, contemplation. So it is that if the entry in deep sleep state means denying presence of what? Denying the presence of waking and dream. Denying the presence of names and forms, denying the presence of thoughts, only then deep sleep will come, no? Then who has known the peaceful sleep? If there is no waker and dreamer, then who has come to know? If knowledge is possible in the mind, in the deep sleep there was no mind, then who came to know that there was deep sleep? Question to be pondered upon. When one enters deep sleep, the waker has died, he disappears. If the waker is only the waker and he has disappeared, then who knows and who says that I had a good sleep? This thought also comes in Panchadashi, also it comes. The one who was present in the total absence, that is the reality. Contemplation on the total absence is silence, and it leads to a very distinct and palpable experience of one's own presence. This first understand, then apply, and come to be the one who is beyond understanding and application. Our so we someone must be awake in the deep sleep who knew there is absence. So when we ask, so when we say, did you have a good sleep? Yeah, we had a good sleep. It's not the waker who's saying that. It is that one. Our presence in space is possible because space is absence, emptiness. Reality is one which reveals only in absence. Reality is the one which reveals only in the absence. Why only in the absence? Because when there is presence of thoughts or multiplicity, it hijacks our attention. See? When this absence is contemplated upon, one hears the silence. This exercise 2-3 satsangs ago in meditation I told you. When you close your ears, you can see a continuous hum. Continuously it is going on. And this sadhana, this meditation was given in Bhagavatam. Continuously it is going on. If you close your ears, you can hear it. When one focuses on that, here it says, when the absence is contemplated upon, one hears the silence. So what is that continuous hum? What is that unstruck sound? What is that continuous sound in which there are no breaks? Sound is the quality of which element? Sound is the quality of space. So therefore, when we come to silence, this is the sound that is heard. See? When this absence is contemplated upon, one hears the silence. That means one has transcended not only the gross space, but also the quality of space called sound. And the sound is not that sound which is the opponent of silence. This sound which we are hearing we only know one sound. What is that? Which comes and goes. But when we contemplate on the space, we come to hear the continuous sound. Then the question comes, who is hearing that continuous sound? Without getting lost in that sound. See, we will talk about the sound. I heard the continuous sound. Your attention is on the sound. If you focus on the sound, then what will happen? Then creation will happen. Then that sound, continuous sound, will lead to Om. That Om will lead to some understanding. Let's not go into that. But here, our goal is the undifferentiated knowledge. So who is knowing this sound? Who is I am hearing. In my presence this sound is coming. So is now your attention on the sound, or is your attention on the one in whose presence the sound is taking place? And the moment your attention comes to the presence in that silence, everything is over. With correct understanding, it will lead to Sahaj Bhav. With limited understanding, it will lead to meditation. With even little less understanding, it will lead to ecstasy. This abhyasa means this practice takes one beyond the relativity in the experience, beyond knowledge and beyond bondage of knowledge. Knowledge binds through attachment to knowledge. So when we want to know, we want to know, we want to know. In the mind, I want to know, I want to know, I want to know goes on. When you accept as the one in whose presence knowledge and absence of knowledge come and keep flitting around, that is the nature of the mind. Don't be affected by it, don't be disturbed by it. How you will not be disturbed by it? When you are in deep sleep, are you disturbed by the wars going on? Are you disturbed by the floods going on in this world? Are you disturbed by the COVID spreading to other people or COVID deaths or nothing? You are concerned. In the deep sleep, are you concerned about if there is daylight or not? Nothing. Are you even concerned about your body, senses, mind, thoughts in deep sleep? Nothing you are concerned about. Because you are not available. Same way, when we do this contemplation and come to the original, come to the presence in who is not disturbed by the absence and the presence of thoughts. That is the total absence, and that is the reality. This total absence is not contradictory to existence and non-existence. Total absence is not contradictory to presence and absence. That is our true nature. Third example, घट घटपणे भासे तद्भंगे भंगे आभासे सर्वथा नाही ते नसे कोणे म्हणावे. He says, the pot is seen in its existence, so also its destruction reveals it. Because its essence, mud, is present in both conditions, who can say that the mud is not? Whether the pot is or the pot is not, mud continues to be. Whether the waking is present or the waking is not present, the pure consciousness continues to be. Because the waking and the absence of the waking is only a superimposition of on the pure self that you are. Or he who has seen the presence of pot alone sees the absence of pot on its destruction. Mud is always present irrespective of the existence of pot. So if one is saying there is pot and now the pot is broken, if our attention is outwards, extrovert, then we say the presence of the pot and the absence of the pot, but the mud remains. Mud continues to be. You don't say absence of the mud because the pot has vanished, because the pot has broken. Do you say mud has broken? If the waker goes away, do you say I have gone away? If the dreamer has gone away, do you say I have gone away? If the deep sleeper has gone away, do you say I have gone away? Think. So here, just as whatever has come and gone, the constant continues to be. The pot is seen in its presence. It is also seen when it is destroyed because of the presence of the mud. Therefore, when there is no presence of the pot at all, who is present in the absolute absence? So, when there is no presence of the pot, when the pot has been crushed completely, that means the form has gone. The name and form of the pot is totally gone. What remains? The mud remains. When the name and form of the waker has gone, the dreamer has gone, what remains? When the name and form of the ornament has gone, what remains? Gold continues to be. Same way with the water continues to be when the name and form of the wave has gone. So, what was name and form? It was only an imagination, it was only a superimposition, it was only an appearance. That name and form does not have an existence apart from the Sat Vastu, the constant principle called water. Similarly, here, that name and form called pot does not have existence apart from the mud. So, when it was present, it was mud. When it is absent, what remains? Mud. So, when you have thoughts, what are the thoughts made up of? Name and form. Nothing but the pure consciousness. When they are absent, what remains? Because now there is nothing to interact with. Then what remains when there is total absence? The Sat Vastu, the pure self, the absolute presence, that alone remains. Think, be that in and through all your experiences, all your thoughts. The peculiarity of this existence is described. Manaoni kahi nahi pana, dekhata nahi nohe apana, nohuni asane nayavina, asane ze. The absence cannot establish the absence. Absence cannot establish the absence. Why? Because absence means nothing. How can nothing establish nothing? It is the presence which is present in absence that establishes the absence. The presence is non-existence. So, who is establishing the non-existence? It is the presence. Which presence? The absolute presence. That absolute presence is necessarily the absolute is the absolute absence also. The absolute one, not the temporary absence which is coming and going. Absolute. That's just a name given to it. One cannot call the pure existence as non-existence. Why? Because non-existence itself cannot establish non-existence. Only existence can do that. For the establishment of ignorance, knowledge must be present. Therefore, pure knowledge is that which exists without existence. It is non-existent existence. It is non-existent existence, meaning presence of thought. And what is absence? Absent is non-presence of thoughts. What is deep sleep? Is there anything called deep sleep? No. Then what? Why we call it deep sleep? Because deep sleep is non-presence of waking and dream. This is the only way we can speak about it. It falls beyond the limitations of relative existence called existence versus non-existence. It is existence which is independent of existence as well as non-existence. Again, the conclusion, undifferentiated knowledge. What is that? Undifferentiated principle. It is that which supports the existence and non-existence. Both are relative because they keep coming and going, but it itself is not affected by the presence or the absence of existence and non-existence. But when it comes to non-existence, who knows the non-existence? The presence in the non-existence is the reality. Then why do we keep talking about existence and non-existence? Because that is your experience. Yesterday also there was waking and dream, there was deep sleep. Day before yesterday also there was waking and sleep, dream and deep sleep. As an objective experience, there is presence and absence. Presence of waking and dream and absence of waking and dream, which is called sleep. But when we become subjective, then these words and examples that we are talking, the topic that is going on is undifferentiated consciousness, undifferentiated knowledge. This is only when we are absolutely alert as to who we are. Our attention is not extrovert. Our attention is not trying to establish anything out there. Our attention is not on establishing the undifferentiated consciousness. You cannot establish it. It is always there. You cannot establish consciousness. Consciousness is always. But it is how to sift through, negotiate through the mind so that the mind drops away, that the mind does not become an issue. That is the whole exercise here. And where the mind has not become issue, there is absence. And you say, oh, there is nothing. Who is saying there is nothing? Again the mind comes in. Then don't allow the mind to come up. Be the one in the absence. Furthermore, परिआणिका का आपणिया न पुरे विशो हो आवया मणौनी न सावया कारण की. The pure knowledge neither becomes objective for itself nor for others. Therefore, one cannot declare this presence as existent. So now the word existent also is taken away. Why? Because pure knowledge neither becomes objective for itself or for others. We are living a totally opposite way of life, where we are objectifying everything. But what is that truth? What is that pure consciousness? It has never objectified itself, nor it has become an object of knowledge for anyone else. While it was said in the above OV that it is non-existent existence, it cannot also be called non-existent. This pure knowledge cannot become object for itself or for others. So nobody can, like I know this laptop, like I know you, like that I cannot come to know this reality, like that I cannot come to know the essence that I am, the presence that I am. It cannot become an object of knowledge for itself or for others. So, reality cannot become an object of knowledge for itself nor for others. In other words, water cannot know itself, nor any wave can ever come to know water. For any wave to know water, waveness has to vanish. And why water cannot come to know anything, cannot come to know itself? Because he is everything, everywhere, with no beginning and no end. Same is our nature. When I refer to myself as father, son, etc., it is only in a relative way. The relative subjectivity is only an object. Relative subjectivity is only an object. Father, son, brother, sister, wife, all these are objective relativity. So you are object, the father comes and goes, the son comes and goes, the wife comes and goes in on you. So that which is come and go is objective. But you feel, instead of being the continuous one, you feel I am the father, I am the brother, I am the sister, I am the husband, and dig a grave for ourselves. The relative subjectivity is only an object. Understand this. All the virtual roles that you are playing of father, son, wife, daughter, etc., all these virtual roles are only an object of your knowledge. You only say, yes, I am the wife also, I am the son also, I am the daughter also, I am the husband also, I am the friend also, I am the employee also. So all these relative virtual selves or virtual identity is known by you. Just like waking, dream, deep sleep, they are known by you. These are also known by you. They are objective in nature. This pure consciousness cannot be objectified. So the relative subjectivity is only an object, and the pure consciousness cannot be objectified. You can objectify the relative roles. You can objectify the waker, dreamer, sleeper. But you cannot objectify the one who is saying, or in whose presence the waking, dream, deep sleep are going on. You cannot objectify that fellow, that person, that consciousness, that essence. See? But for the pure consciousness, even the subject, that is the waker, dreamer, etc., becomes the object. So who knows the dreamer, waker, sleeper? It is the pure consciousness. It is the reality. It is that undifferentiated consciousness which is, without doing anything, is supporting all the relative consciousnesses. Which are the relative consciousnesses? Waking consciousness, dream consciousness, sleep consciousness, husband consciousness, wife consciousness, sister consciousness. It's supporting all. Just as water is supporting all the waves. But from water's point of view, there is no wave. It has never become many. Similarly, this pure consciousness that I am is supporting all the roles, subjective roles, relatively subjective. But it itself has never become anything or anyone. But for the pure consciousness, even the subject, that is the waker, dreamer, etc., becomes the object. Therefore, everything is illumined by this knowledge, but it cannot be objectified. Everything is illumined. Without it, nothing can express in the world. Now, don't come to this conclusion. Okay, I come to know I am actually the consciousness. If everyone says they are the consciousness, it will be a better phenomenal world. Everyone will be in love. Everyone will know the consciousness. That is Satyuga. Consciousness is not one per person. Consciousness is one without a second. This wrong notion also has to be understood, that we are making that mistake. And that mistake is only continued because of our identification with the body. And as long as we are identified with the body, whatever we have told in this lecture or in this entire text till now, you will not understand. Or if you understand, it will be only temporarily. You cannot stay firm in this knowledge. It's only when we become disidentified from the result of this knowledge is we are disidentified from the body. And then it starts clicking like this, one after every word clicks. But if we are identified with the body and we are trying to think about that which is beyond the body, and yet supporting the body, very difficult. Just like a wave cannot come to know water, the waveness of the wave has to die, has to dissolve, because the wave is already water. Same way, we are already the pure consciousness that we are seeking. But because of our obsession with objectivity, we are falling short in that abidance, in that being, in that revelation. Stop objectifying. Accept that you are the one without a second, in essence. Not as the body, not as the mind, not as the thoughts, not as the absence. No, you are. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnaat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Sit quietly for a few seconds.